Hello, this is not a proper Let's Play. I'm doing this because I have noticed a similarity between some of the philosophies of this game and some of the philosophies of a tabletop role-playing game that I enjoy greatly, particular system. The system I'm speaking of is Fate. More specifically, this one shows this game is similar in some points to Fate Accelerated, which is a very stripped down version of Fate. One of the best things I like about Fate, Fate Core, and all the different kinds of Fate you can find out there is it's very much a toolkit system where there are a number of sample systems that you can use or not use to address the flavor you want for your particular game. I have done Fate for supernatural games, superhero games, um, horror, scary, like Cthulhu-ish type stuff. I haven't really done Cthulhu-ish, but I've done horror. Um, you can do Fate for most genres. The standard Fate is geared towards giving the players a lot of agency and control over whether they fail or succeed. But it is a very, um, but it is a very nice toolkit system. And if you get the Fate Core Toolkit, there are a lot of example systems that you can use to add into your game. Or if you look at their Worlds of Adventure, most of which are on Pay What You Want, a lot of those have sample mechanics and sample scenarios that are optional to the Fate Core. Fate Core is a very simple, direct, it has the bare minimums of what you need, and all the Worlds of Adventure and the Fate Toolkit have the extra systems you can put on. Fate Accelerated is even more stripped down than Fate Core in general, but it has been used as the basis for more complex systems as well, like Gods and Monsters. But this computer game, Renowned Explorers by Abbey Games, has similarities to Fate in a couple different things. And that is their perks. Their perks and trainings are very similar to aspects and stunts. They're not quite the same. The perks are somewhere between an aspect and a stunt, and the trainings are, again, about the same, somewhere between an aspect and a stunt. And they have a class up here, or scientist, which again is acting as somewhere between a aspect and a stunt, which makes perfect sense because stunts were originally derived from basic aspects. If you go all the way back to Fudge, all they had were aspects, and then later somebody came up with stunts to make more specific tricks. But anyway, back to this. Now, so you have these perks and these trainings and this class, which operate sort of similar to aspects, the way aspects work in Fate sometimes. I'll show you examples of that coming up. And then you have the combat system, which we will see later as soon as I can find an encounter. Now, what's happened here? What a weird place. The ground is getting increasingly soft and the air starts to smell foul. Weird rocks stand between the crooked trees. Anna thinks you might have reached a pretty special point in the forest. Investigate further. We don't have any other choices, so that's what we're going to do. While looking around, Anna notices clues of fossilized remains. The crew is getting excited. Could you maybe find your first fossils right in this swampy place? Maybe conducting some research in the swampy areas will yield better results. So, let's look over here at Victor first. Victor has a 10% base chance. He has a 10% base chance bonus from his speech defense, which I guess represents his cleverness and willpower. So he has a 20% chance to succeed and gets a clue to collect, which is basically money, mostly money, one study, which is research, and a bonus one collect. Or he has an 80% chance to fail, which results in our team's supplies dropping by 2, and he's clueless. Now, let's look to Hildegard. Hildegard has a 10% base chance. She has plus 31% bonus from speech defense because she is a speaker. She has a high speech defense. She's also got plus 20% from naturalist, which is the knowledge of natural forces like physics, chemistry, and stuff like that. It's not an environmentalist. So she has a 61% chance to succeed. Her bonus would be plus 1 campaign. Her failure would be the same. We lose supplies. And over here, we have Anna, who has a 10% base chance, just like everybody else. 32% from speech defense, 20% from scientist, because she is a scientist. 40% from naturalist, because she has 2 naturalist perks instead of 1. Hildegard, as we can see over here, Hildegard has 1 diplomat and 1 naturalist perk. And Victor Signac has tactics. But she has a total here of 42, 62, 102% chance, and it just goes down to 100%. Now, since I think the bonus is coming from what their class is, so she is a scientist, so she gets a bonus study. I could start investigate the safe areas, and it doesn't tell me what I get. But we're going to research the murky areas, and we're going to do it with Anna. This is similar to Fate, at least the way I do Fate, because I look at aspects that a character has and say, oh, this person makes sense that this task would be easier for this person because they have experience with this, this, and this, and I would reduce the difficulty for a person that has aspects that represent training in this subject. As adverse, give them a bonus. That way, I mean, if, for example, I'm going to use the clever approach from Fate Accelerated instead of using skills from Fate Core. Let's say all of these characters have a clever of plus 2, which is possible because Anna is very intimidating. She might have a high forceful. Let's say they all have a clever of plus 2. So they all have a plus 2 to their rolls. But Anna is a scientist. So it makes sense that she would know better about this than the others would. And actually, we could say that Victor might have a plus 1 clever because the speech defense is a little bit lower, and Hildegard and Anna have plus 2. And so we could say that Anna and Hildegard have equivalent bonus on clever, but because Hildegard only has 1 stunt or aspect adding to things, and Anna has 3, Anna has a better chance of succeeding. And that's the way it would go. Now, the difference here between Fate and Renowned Explorers is the way Fate would do it is you figure out the basics at first, figure out the base difficulty, and then you would roll the dice. And after the roll of the dice, you would not necessarily succeed or fail on the roll of the dice. What the GM should do, at least what I'm learning you should do, is describe how things are about to go wrong, and describe it up to that point where the character still has a chance to interfere, a chance to modify things in their favor. This would be spending the fate point to trigger an aspect to say, "Oh, but I am a terrifying scientist from Russia. I know all about I know all about this science. I've been in much more terrifying places than this murky swamp. So I don't have any trouble at all. I'm gonna spend that." And the difference is something that I've heard called fortune at the end and fortune in the middle. Fortune at the end is the traditional way is the oldest way games have done things. You set up your modifiers ahead of time the way this game has, and then you roll the dice, and the dice determine whether you're successful or failure, unless you have so many modifiers as you have a 100% chance to succeed, which most games don't let you do. Fortune at the middle, which is what Fate does, is you set up some of your base modifiers, then you roll the dice, and what the dice tell you is after you roll the dice, you haven't succeeded or failed yet, You're still in the process of completing the action. But you can start to notice things are going to go either wrong or well, and you can decide to put more effort into it to make things go better your direction. Either make it a critical success, or make a failure into a success, or make a really bad failure into less of a failure. One of those things. And it creates different kinds of tension. In Fortune, at the end, all the tension's on the die roll, and what luck is going to give you, what numbers will turn up on that die roll. That's where all the tension is watching that dice roll and seeing if it's going to roll high or low. On Fortune in the middle, the dice roll sets up your circumstances, and then all the tension is in deciding for yourself how much you want to sacrifice to succeed at this action. How important is this action to you? In this case, all the burden of how the action is going to go is on you, unless you're out of fate points, and then you're out of luck. And it's two different kinds of tension. They both are mechanics for producing uncertainty. They are both mechanics for producing dramatic tension, but they create different types of tension in the game player, and one makes you feel like you have more control over the situation than the other, and might make you look like, to an outsider, that you fail less. On the other hand, anything that goes wrong is on your shoulders because you made the final decision, I'm not spending resources. Or you made the final decision, I want to succeed at my action, so I will succeed at cost. I will take a cost. And depending on the gameplay, on the game you're playing, if you are playing a friendly slice of life type game, succeed at cost may be you succeed at passing the finish. You succeed at passing the finish line at the school track meet, but in doing so, you break your leg because you throw yourself over the finish line ahead of your opponent. Or you successfully convinced someone to go out with you to the prom, but in doing so, you make yourself look like a complete idiot to all the rest of the school. Something like that. That would be succeed at cost. If you're playing a horror game and you decide you want to get out of this room with the closing door, so I'm going to succeed with cost, that NPC friend of yours might die. And I have done that to people. Or, this seatbelt is choking me. I'm going to take my gun and shoot the seatbelt. A success with cost on that, and this is something that has happened in a recent game, a success with cost on that might result in you shooting a bystander, who, by the way, just happened to be a high schooler who was getting ready to represent your country at some mixed tradition weapon martial arts tournament sometime next year. Or high schooler or university student, one of the two, I forget which. So, and this is on a character who had a lot of personality about defending the public, and here she was accidentally shooting a bystander because she was trying to get out of a seatbelt. Those are success with cost. That was not a horror situation. That was more of an action movie type story. Now, this, we're going to hit Anna, and it's going to be a success. I wonder what that RE was. Oh, we got a clue. Not only did Anna find some valuables, but Anna also thinks you should be looking for an herbivore dinosaur skeleton. I'm going to look for some amber. I don't think I've ever looked for amber. Oh, we find something special. Amber! Now we have a choice between a study or a treasure hunt. We're going to get the treasure hunt because it adds more. See, it adds status and gold. I actually would want, for Anna, you want study, but that's renowned explorers, and I'm focusing on fate. Now, the other way, and I could go to the, we'll do the campfire. Why not? Oh, joy. Let's see. Keep. I don't know that we're going to do that. Do I want to do Professor this time? Oh, let's do Mentor Explorer. Okay, so we're going to make her mentor Victor Signac here. There, we'll protect you. So she's scared, and he wants to teach her to be more courageous, so she's less of a paper tiger. Okay. Do I want to do the... We'll go ahead and go straight to the end here. Yes, we're going to go onwards. I'm not going to actually continue with this game after this. The crew vigorously searches through the dense forest. It doesn't take long before you find it. A standing stone circle. I forgot to look at what these buffs were. These are kind of like aspects. These buffs here provide bonuses, and they're usually situational. And that's kind of like providing bonuses to your... That's like an aspect on your character, or a maneuver, or create an advantage. Must contain valuable information to study. Now we have to fight our rival. And now we're going to look at the combat. What's your problem, my friend? Oh, great. I've got an aggressive / friendly, but two of my characters are aggressive and friendly, and one of my characters is devious and aggressive, and I need to win this on devious. Okay. You get a bit extra benefit if you win on devious. You get nothing if you win on friendly. In fact, you might get a weakness. You get so-so results if you win on aggressive. So, now everybody has a physical attack, a devious attack, and a friendly attack. Now, every attack is pretty much the same. All the devious and the friendly attacks are based off your speech. The physical attack is based off your attack power. The item that's right here is just special effect. It doesn't add anything. There is equipment. I can't show it to you, but the equipment for attacks are gloves. Good gloves, decent gloves. And right now I have bad gloves, probably. The equipment for speech is a book. Protecting against speech is mementos, and protecting against attacks is armor as normal. But your attacks will do the same damage. See, it says 100% attack. Will do the same damage if she's 21, he's 29, she's 20. Anna's taser and Hildegard's magician's wand will do very close to the same damage. His rapier will do more damage, but oh wow. His rapier will do more damage, but only because he has a higher attack stat. The attack stat is what matters. And this is very much like combat in Fate, where everything uses the same mechanics. See, right there, she did a mental attack. He lost all of his spirit, and he runs off. He is no longer in the fight. He has been taken out. So, we're going to go here. I might lose this, because I usually wander around the island a little bit more. And she is also going to do that. And he is also terrified and goes running off because he doesn't want to be here. Now, to turn it up a little bit, we're going to do an attack. A physical attack. It uses the exact same mechanics. Only he gets knocked unconscious instead of running, or dies instead of running off to the side. The game tends to imply they get knocked unconscious. And he's going to come over here and be mean to us. Yep. Now, you guys are not close enough yet. I'm going to go ahead and mix things up a little bit. I'm going to do a friendly attack, because right now we got, up here, this mood is tense. because both sides are using devious. And friendly powers, what this means is friendly powers get 25% more impact. But instead of doing, oh, I could really hit him. I could do created advantage to remove his stress. This spirit is like the stress bar in Fate. And this is one of the reasons why I say Fate Accelerated instead of Fate Core. Fate Core, you would have a spirit bar for physical damage, and you would have a stress bar for mental damage. And then you would also have consequences. Fate Accelerated, you can have consequences as well. But, okay, do I want to go straight? Oh, I'm showing the case. So, using the same mechanics, this would be like create an advantage to try to heal him. Which might not be the best because he might be weaker again. Now he's terrified, so his physical attacks will be less. Not that he's using physical attacks. Yeah, he's impressed. Yeah, she healed him, but he's impressed, which makes his speech attacks worse. And we're going to do there. Now, what I just did is going to make things worse for me because it's going to go towards escalated, and the bad guys will have advantage against me. Because they're being cunning and I'm being brutal. You see, and now, okay, look at their emotions. The emotions provide different effects. And now he's going to get knocked unconscious. And he'll lose resolve. Yeah. Okay. Uncontrollably burst into sobs. And, oh, the other guys are going to threaten us now. Okay, so there. Threatened to electrocute him. Again, that's just special effects. I could resurrect him, but I think we're going to end this fight. Or bring him back. You can't do that in Fate. Now, because we defeated the boss, this ends. And we get Devious Victory. And she gets +5 grit and +2 speech power. Okay, here's some. He gives us some research, and all crew members get speech permanently increased by 1. Okay, and see now here's where another aspect thing is. This is not shown on her character sheet, but Anna's obsessively curious. So sometimes, instead of giving you a choice of actions, she will pop in and say, "No, we must have this." So that's what's going to happen. Yep, Sea Sapphire. And then it gives us some selections. This is more about renowned explorers. Okay. And I'm not going to finish this, so I'm not going to worry about leveling up. Okay. Now, the big difference between this game and Fate, because there are a number of mechanical differences. I showed you some of the cases where the mechanics are similar, but there are a huge number of mechanical differences. But the biggest difference, and some of the philosophies and the mechanics are similar, like the standardization of attack. A speech attack in Fate is the same as a physical attack in Fate. It uses the same mechanics. It hits stress, it deals consequences, and if the character can either take consequence or take stress, then they are taken out. The person who took them out gets to decide how they are taken out in some versions. In some versions, the GM decides, and you have to have a special ability to be the one that decides. I generally, when I play, I let the player decide how things are taken out when they succeed. So being taken out just means they are no longer in that scene. If you were taking them out with a sword, that usually means the default assumption that characters go with is, I kill him, and then he's taken out of the story. However, that is not the only way you can take someone out. I had someone do a sword attack as a mental attack where they completely penetrated the opponent's defenses and brought the sword to just at their throat and completely destroyed their stress and their mental stress track, so that they were taken out of the scene because of the complete loss of confidence in the ability to fight. In D&D, that would be a status effect. Maybe they would run away, but they would still have hit points, so the GM could still decide, oh, but they still attack you. Getting taken out mentally, socially, physically just means, the only thing for sure it means is you're out of the scene. You are no longer in the fight. You cannot affect this scene at all. You are now a bystander. And whether you're captured, dead, humiliated, run away crying, or lose all your money, or whatever, depends on the circumstances and the decision of the person who puts you there. But the big thing, and I didn't get hardly any points this time. Sometimes I can get to over 500 if I'm doing very well. The big difference between this game and Fate is that Fate it operates under a philosophy of fiction first. We use the mechanics in Fate to enforce a certain flavor. If we want to have a scary story where the characters have less agency and things are out of control, we give them less fate points. We make bad things happen more often. We make difficulties higher. We don't tell them the difficulties ahead of time so that they don't know what they're rolling against. And we make the effects of their choices to succeed with cost that much more difficult, or that much more costly. Like I said, your NPC friend dying. So we use the mechanics to create a flavor. Whether we want that to be a flavor of high adventure or a flavor of Cthulhian terror. Madness, sanity, that kind of thing. So the mechanics are very important. But it's fiction first. Every game system out there, I don't care what it is, the mechanics will not always model reality. And even though Fate is modeling fiction rather than reality, following the mechanics as written will not always make sense. You'll always have those instances where following the mechanics as written presents you in a place where that just doesn't make sense. Like the fighter who is tied up, the 20th level fighter who is tied up at a post in front of a shooting gallery and takes 5 arrows and doesn't die, because he has so many hit points. It doesn't make sense. But the rules say the arrow only does so much damage. It doesn't take into account that the guy is tied up. It doesn't take into account, some games do take this into account. It doesn't take into account that hit points are an abstraction of many things, not just physical health. And you end up with the situation where people laugh about how silly the rules are, because that wouldn't happen in real life. In Fate, it is officially, I don't know if you could say it's officially, but that is the general philosophy. If you run across a situation where the rules get you to a position that does not make sense, you set aside the rules and you go with what makes sense. It does not make sense that, and usually this kind of, sometimes this goes in the player's favor, sometimes this goes in against the player's favor. It tends to even out. By and large, as with most games, I don't run into the problem so much because, well, I play that way in all games. If I'm playing D&D and the rules don't make sense, the rules create a situation that doesn't make sense, I throw away the rules and I improvise something. If I'm playing Shadowrun and the rules create a situation that just flat doesn't make sense, I throw away the rules and I improvise something. The difference with Fate, Powered by the Apocalypse, is that's the dominating philosophy of how the game is run. A lot of people think that the fiction first philosophy means that we're sitting around a table, and instead of playing a role-playing game, we are spending tokens so that we can add our part to the story. We're playing a storyteller game like Once Upon a Time with the cards. But not really. That's not the way it works. There are mechanics. You follow the mechanics unless it doesn't make sense, and usually the mechanics make sense. You pick the mechanics because usually you picked mechanics for your campaign that create the flavor of the campaign you want. And either the parts that aren't realistic are ones you accept, or you don't know enough about realism to know that it's not realistic. And computer games cannot do fiction first. At all. Absolutely impossible. Until a computer gets intelligent, a computer game will not be able to do fiction first. So that's the big thing. It doesn't do it does fortune at the end, and it does mechanics first. For the sheer fact that it has to. It cannot do anything but mechanics first because it is a computer. Anyway, that is my rant. I am going to go ahead and close this. We know the drill. Yay. This is a good game. I have not completed it yet, but this is a really fun game, and I'm going to cut this video. And I'll probably do a Let's Play of it later when my Let's Play schedule is not already filled to the brim. Talk to you later.